Simply Tammy.
It's a blessing that I'm here, I'm alive. No, I never ever have to cry, cause it's something I know will always work for me on my side. Not a thing I even have to fight, All things work together for my good. Life speaks if you listen, it might be sound. Watch the love come alive. Sharing the truth that inspires, Sharing the truth that inspires, Sharing the truth that inspires. All things work together for my good. Life speaks if you listen, it might be sound. Watch the joy come alive, watch the joy. Sharing the truth that inspires.
Inspired to love, inspired to grow, inspired to heal, inspired to live. Simply Tammy.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome back for another episode of Women Who Win. I am your host, Simply Tammy, and I want to thank you for joining me again. I see some of you have already jumped in the comments, so thank you for doing so. If you have not, scrolling across the bottom of the screen, we ask that you say hello to us in the comments. We ask that you share the broadcast. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and like it and love it. That will help others know that we have this amazing program going on, and they will get to see and hear from my amazing guests that I have tonight. So also, if you are watching on YouTube, hopefully you have subscribed to the YouTube channel. If not, what are you waiting on? Even if you're not watching on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to Simply Tammy on YouTube. Thank you guys for your continued support. Many of you have joined me week after week. It's been over a year and a half now that I've been doing these episodes, and it has been a tremendous blessing, not only to me, but for those of you that have been able to watch. So I do, before I bring up my guest, have something I want to share. Many of us have been impacted in different ways by COVID-19 and the pandemic and the shutdown. And I've known several people that have had COVID, recovered for it, but have had people that have had family members, unfortunately, succumb to it. And someone that I've known for years this week passed away. And I would consider this person extended family. Many of you know that for a little bit over 10 years, I lived in the Columbia area in Columbia, South Carolina. And while I was there, a family member of a friend, I don't even remember at what event this was. I ended up tasting this fruit concoction that they made. And every time that I would host events in the Columbia area, which was several times after that, I would always ask this person to make the fruit for me. And they were always smiling, always willing to do so. So I'm going to bring up their picture. They passed away this week. Beautiful, beautiful person. Her name is Angela Bostic. So if you guys would just remember the Bostic family with me, pray for that family, her husband, her children, her grandchildren. And I just believe that as women who win, we are a sum total of the women that have crossed our path and touched our lives in various ways. And this is a person, like I said, I met her several years ago. The beautiful smile that you see in this picture, she always had that smile. She was always warm, always loving, always caring. So this I'm asking you to join me as her family is adjusting and making arrangements. And just remember, so many people that have had to deal with loss in any magnitude during this time. So thank you guys for allowing me the time and space to share that. And again, remember the Bostic family in prayer with me. So I do have another amazing guest tonight. I want you to show my guest tonight so much love. She is not used to being up front. She is so effective behind the scenes, but she does amazing and beautiful things. And my guest tonight is none other than the amazing Sherani Patterson. So I'm going to read her bio and then bring her up on the screen. Sherani Ashford Patterson is the founder and lead event executive of Patterson Events Management, LLC. She is an experienced executive event manager with a proven track record as a high performer in planning, managing, and executing high quality professional events. Sherani has a master's degree in conflict resolution from Columbia College in Columbia, South Carolina, and a certificate in executive event leadership from Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her firm is a certified minority women owned business and is a member of the International Live Events Association, the Raleigh-Durham chapter. Sherani is a native of Columbia, South Carolina, and currently lives in Wake Forest, North Carolina, with her husband, Patrick, of 24 years, and their two daughters, Peyton, 15, and Lauren, 13. So join me in welcoming to this platform tonight this amazing woman, Sherani Patterson.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I always like to share how I have met the individuals that I bring to this platform. And I think it was 2018. Many of you, if you've been following me for any time, you guys are familiar with Dr. K. I see her in the comments, so we're going to speak to her in a little bit. But Dr. K, and we affectionately call her Dr. K, but Katrina Hutchins hosts a conference annually called I'm God's Girl for Real. So I attended the first event in 2018. I think I've attended two others. That one was in Columbia, South Carolina, and the other two were in Florida, in Orlando, Florida. Well, Sherani's company is the mastermind behind pulling off these amazing events. So me having done a little bit of event planning on a very small scale, I know that when things happen and seem to go off without a hitch, there is a mastermind behind the scenes that is making this work. So Sherani and her team have been doing it for I don't know how long. We're going to find out here, but the event, every time I've attended an event that she has coordinated and planned and managed, it is extravagant, it is amazing, it is all things that a event host would want in plan in having an event and having someone plan. So Sherani, thank you for saying
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you for coming from behind your clipboard and microphone
Yes,
to join me. So yeah, I know that this is not necessarily where you are always comfortable being, but again, I know that there's a mastermind in what you do, and I believe you have so much to offer and share with us. So we're going to acknowledge a few people that are in the comments. My sister in Charleston, Tramika Johnson. Hey, sissy. Dr. K is on. She says, hello, Tammy. And she also said that Sherani is phenomenal. And I agree. She absolutely is. Javion here in the upstate in Greenville, South Carolina is watching. Hello, Javion. I think that's it. I think we have some roots. So thank you guys for jumping in the comments. Those of you who I think we have some others watching, you can also jump in the comments, say hello to us. Make sure you share the broadcast. So Sherani.
Yes.
I want to start off with your bio says that your degree is in conflict resolution.
Wow.
But I know you as an amazing event planner and such as this, that's the business you're in. So
Yes.
how did those two tie together? Did we start off on one path and veer over to another? Tell me how did we go from conflict resolution to the Sherani we know today?
Oh, wow. It's been a journey. First, I want to thank you for the invitation and having me on tonight. And I know, as I had mentioned to you earlier, so many great women have been here before me. So I am just honored to share the platform and be an invited guest tonight. But the journey has been interesting. My undergraduate degree is in business administration. I got my master's in conflict resolution. And when I initially started, in my head, I was like, I am going to have a business. One day I want to own my own business. I just at that time didn't know what the business would be. But I can tell you that the business background and the conflict resolution skills really help out a whole lot in events management. So you meet a lot of people, you work with a lot of different personality types. So conflict resolution skills have served me well, most definitely in this position and the things that we're doing now.
Yes, yes. Dr. K said she manages all kind of conflict behind the scenes, so that degree. Yes. And my friend MJ said she can see the correlation. Yes, if you anytime you are dealing with people on any scale, to know how to manage conflict is a bonus. So
Yeah.
you knew, or you said you knew you would have a business. Was it always event planning as the desired business, or was there something else that you desired to do before you landed in the space you are in now?
So the interesting thing is I didn't know what the business would be. I think I started when I started out in business administration, somewhere in the back of my head, I said I wanted to own my own business,
Okay.
and just not really knowing what that was. I spent a lot of time. I've done some work in corporate. I've worked a large part of my professional career in nonprofit. So I have worked from nonprofits, small nonprofits, to where every donation matters. We're scrambling for grant funding. To I worked for a large nonprofit organization during the time that I was in Delaware, and it was the nonprofit side of the hospital organization, Nemours, there in Delaware, in Wilmington, Delaware. And so they had a huge budget. I mean, I wasn't used to, okay, it's time for you to order your office supplies. You can have what you want. It's like, or look at the catalog. What do you need? So I kind of have been at both ends and definitely in the middle when it comes to nonprofit organizations and spending my time there. And in that, in working with nonprofit, especially with the ones where funding is critical, funding is, we are really watching budget. I started out doing a lot of my events like through those nonprofits. So anytime there was a fundraiser for a program that I was managing, I was the one that had to plan the fundraiser. If we were doing any kind of events, anything that had something to do with bringing the partners to the table, any of those community type of meetings or whatever, I was the one that usually had to plan those events. Now, when I got to Nemours, again, at this other end of the spectrum, we actually had event planners on staff. So when I was in a position where I was responsible for a lot of community meetings, even some of our high level executive meetings. And I would still find myself doing things like scripting comments for maybe our executive director. We had several meetings so Delaware is really small, so it wasn't anything, I wouldn't say easy, but it may not have been as difficult to get somebody like the governor to the table. The governor probably went to high school with somebody that I was working with. And so we even crafting talking points for the governor if he was coming, down to working with his security to say like, okay, he's going to be sitting exactly in this spot. We need him at this time. We're going to bring him up on this elevator. So planning to that level of detail. So our planners who were on staff, they were, yes, we're going to help you find a venue. We'll pick out the food. But then, like I said, I found myself doing all these other things. And a lot of it was prepping people behind the scenes for the meetings or for the events that we were having. So again, if my executive director was going to say a few words on behalf of the organization, I would be the one to brief her before and, say, here are the things that I think you should make comments about. Here's what's been going on, that type of thing. So she would go into the meetings ready. And so found myself doing a lot of that. And then probably in 2015, as I had mentioned, my husband and I are from Colombia, and Patrick had this idea that he wanted to do a conference in Columbia, and it was a men and boys conference. And in his mind, he was like, I want to do something at home in this way of giving back. So it was he and I. He eventually, after, I would say after 2015, we did the conference there for about 5 years. He eventually brought on a planning team, but initially it was an idea that he had, and he and I were just kind of doing the planning. So he was doing a lot of the fundraising and all of the logistics, working with the hotel, finding the hotel, doing all of that. That was the role that I played at that time.
Okay.
After that conference in 2015, I felt like, wow, I like this. Like I could really, and at that time it did not click. Hey, you already doing this kind of stuff anyway. But it was after that I started to seriously look at event planning, management, those aspects of really how do you put on, and I always refer to it as a production because that's what I feel like it is. Like, I've been behind the scenes with plays and different things like that. And I think this is very akin to that type of production. And so it was then that I had started just kind of doing my research on what was out there. Because if I was going to be serious about it, I wanted to really get the information education piece of it. And so it was at that time, it was 10 schools in the country that were offering a 2-year certificate in event leadership. At the time, living in Delaware, Temple was closest to me because I actually had to go on campus for classes for 2 years. And so that led into doing that piece of it. And then here we are. And it's been 6 years for us in the business.
Oh, wow.
And, didn't start out that way, but it just kind of ended up, I thought it was interesting myself. I was like, okay, Lord, so we went all the way around here to get back here like this.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. We have a few more ladies that I want to just acknowledge in the comments before I get to the next question. I think I brought this comment up earlier, but Kenosha, hello. Thank you for watching. Reverend Wilma Johnson is watching us on YouTube. Thank you for watching. We have Crystal Campbell. Think she's down in the Charleston area watching, and then another sister down in Atlanta. So thank you guys for jumping on and showing Sherani some love. And I'm excited because a lot of the ladies in the comments have been previous guests on the show. Dr. K, Reverend Wilma, Tramika, awesome. And Javion are all previous guests. Yay. So one of the things that I know that it takes to do what you do are things like being highly organized, being able to plan, being able to lead, the gift of administration. If you had to choose one of those as your strongest suit, or if you had to say what your strongest suit or skill was in the area of event management, what would you say that it is?
I'm going to say, you said just one? If I had to pick one, I'm going to say to me, the administrative piece kind of sums up a lot of what you said. So I'm going to go with the administrative piece. Okay. And when you say gift, it took me a while to even recognize that as a gift, and really how to appropriately use it in this way. And so that that's a whole journey in and of itself, is just even realizing that that those were my gifts. I'm sitting here, whenever people talk about gifts, you always think about the person who sings, dances, can do all of these things that just appear to be more obvious, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I knew I couldn't do any of those things, and then I really had to, just with a lot of praying and really consulting God about that, because I wanted to be people talk a lot about their purpose, but I wanted to be intentional about what that was for me and understanding what that was for me, because I wanted to um be intentional about what I was doing, not just wasting time or just doing something, but I wanted to be doing what God wants me to do. Um,
Absolutely.
so it's about the purpose, it's about the passion, but it's also about being in the will, and that was important to me. So it really took some time for me to, like, oh, this is it. And
Yeah.
you looking for something, but it is here. Like, you need to realize it's already there, and this is what I need you to do and how I need you to use that. So
Mm-hmm. You've said you just dropped a ton of nuggets right there about already having what you're looking for.
mhm,
But I also like how you said it took you some time to recognize
mhm,
that administration was a gift. And it made me think about oftentimes when women are in leadership or have a certain strength, how they execute that strength or how it may
yeah,
be portrayed to other people.
mhm,
Sometimes people think you're too strong, you're too forceful,
mhm,
your voice is too this or too
mhm,
that. Were you
mhm.
ever challenged with trying to suppress the leader you are because of how people misunderstood it?
So I will say yes. My voice is one that is, and I've probably, this is another thing I had to kind of come to grips with. My voice is I have a deep voice, strong voice. I can remember, very at a very young age, like very early on, getting teased about my voice, how deep it is, and so with that, and when you are in this place where you're still trying to come into yourself, like that, those were comments to me, like, okay, sometimes I would say, okay, I'm not going to say anything here because it's going to sound like I'm yelling at people, but I'm really not. Or it's going to sound like I'm being loud, but this is my voice. This is how I speak it.
Absolutely.
So I have definitely been in situations, especially working in corporate and even in those nonprofit settings.
Mhm.
I was at that particular company where I was, and in Delaware, I was the only African American woman in leadership at that organization at the time. So it was a very, I would say, interesting dance, always in my head, trying to figure out, okay, do I interject here? How do I do that? How do I, like, kind of temper my voice in this way so I can make my point? They don't feel, intimidated, or, whatever the issue may be. So I have definitely have had to deal with that.
Mhm. So was there a turning moment? Because I I struggle with the same thing. Like I don't say a lot, but when I do, if it comes out passionately, it might be loud.
Yeah.
It might be sound like I'm trying to, tell you what to
Yeah.
do, and I'm not really trying to tell you like that.
Yeah.
What was the turning point for that you settled into fully saying, this is who I am. I embrace it. This is my gift. And people are better off with me offering it and allowing it to be free than me withholding it.
Yeah.
What was the turning point for you?
A lot of it came with the whole realizing, I think, when I was on this journey and trying to figure out um, my gifts and embracing those. My voice to me was a part of that. Like, and it is who I am. I can't change that. It's, I try, even now I'll find myself saying, like, I'm not yelling, because my kids are always like, "Mommy, why are you mad?" I'm not mad. I'm just saying. Like, so I do still, especially with them, I find myself in this place of, it's almost like prefacing something before I actually say it. So you can
Mhm.
understand that actually there is no harm meant. I just need to speak what I need to speak, and my voice is what it is. And so this is how it's gonna come out.
Yeah.
But I feel in a place now, as I continue on my journey, and as I continue with a lot of my self-awareness, things that I bring to the table, that is me. And you hear people say unapologetically me. I'm at that place now. It's like, that's I got to give it to you. And
Yes,
how
yes,
it's gonna come from me. So
yes. Well, I, for one, thank you for showing up as you, and I'm sure everyone that has encountered you will say thank you for embracing who you are fully, and showing up.
thank
So, in the space of business, and you've been married for 24 years,
you.
um, was was it easy making the transition into full-time business, being a wife and mother, or were there times when you were like, should I have stayed on somebody's job? What am I doing?
Oh, let me just say, as an entrepreneur, you always think about, should I have stayed on somebody? What I will say is that what it came with its own, I'll say, challenges. It was different. So what made it, I'm going to say, maybe the transition. So I shared with you that we were living in Delaware for 16 years. We had relocated from Delaware to North Carolina, where we are now. So in that transition, actually, when I left Delaware, that's when I put in my resignation to the organization that I was with. And I had been working at that organization for about 11 years. So it was really good. And that's 11 years, 3 promotions. And so when I left at a really good place. Financially, and my husband was like, "Oh my God, so you're gonna leave this job and you're in a good place, like, why would you leave that?" Well, we are actually leaving Delaware, and at that time there was no telecommuting and all this virtual stuff happening. But so when we made the move from Delaware to here, um I talked with Patrick, and I will say having his support really helped. So he was initially like, "Okay, we got to figure out, so what you gonna do when you get to North Carolina?" I'm like, "I think I want to go ahead and pursue this, like, full time. Let's go for it." So he was on board. He got on board with that and have been very supportive of my business and what we're doing. And as I mentioned to you, I mean, we started out doing his conference, and the whole 5 years we were doing the conference, I mean, I was the events manager for the conference. And we also have another business that he pretty much is the talent and runs that, but I'm the business manager for that other business. So he is very good in that way, in terms of supporting me and understanding what it is that we're trying to do, and just have been so very helpful for that. And I know, if not for him, especially just being supportive and open to it, because it was something that we both, as we talked about, it was like, okay, all right, it's time. So if you're going to go in it full time, understanding, business is what it was. I was new into it. I will say, I just thank God so much, because the last 6 years, we have been steady when it comes to business and doing events. And a lot of that has been word of mouth, people that we've worked with. So I so value the people. Dr. K is on the line, but just the people that we have been able to work with and that have truly trusted us to be able to say, okay, this event means a lot to me, but I want, you to take this on, has meant a lot to us. And clients like Dr. K have been with us for years. I mean, it's been 6 years. And, we have done events and different things with her now for the last, I believe, like 4 or 5 years now. So all of that matters. And definitely having Patrick's support and him understanding has helped so much. But just deciding to do it, and we did it. And I think at the time of moving from Delaware to North Carolina, it just presented a good opportunity, I think, in and of itself. Because then we had to get the kids acclimated. They were going to different schools. And so the flexibility that I needed to make sure that I was taking care of home and doing everything I had to do with my girls at the time, that opportunity also afforded me to be able to do that. So, yeah.
So I have, I think, 2 more business questions before I veer in another direction. One of the things that you shared with me is that you've learned over the years that corporate is your sweet spot. It's like, I'm not your birthday party girl, I'm not your wedding girl. And oftentimes when we start a new venture, we say yes to everything because we want the money, we want the business, we want the exposure. So what advice would you give to the business owner that's saying yes outside of their scope or skill set? Like, how did you fine tune that, and what would you tell someone else to do to help them fine tune what is going to be the most effective place for them to function?
Okay. So it 6 years. It didn't, as soon as I started out, I was the person. I'm your girl if you want a wedding, if you want an anniversary party, you want a kids party, like we can do it all. So maybe a couple years into it, and after having done some of those events, I started to realize that that I wasn't, it's like it had, for me, I was feeling like I have so much more. Like this really isn't allowing me to do like all of, like I told you, I was used to crafting talking points for people and doing all of this stuff to make sure people were prepared for events. And I just wasn't getting it like that from those type of events that I was doing. I attended a conference, and this is what I would say to people, because this was almost like the thing that kind of helped me a little bit more with this, but sort of, I'll say a game changer, as they say. But I went to an event planning conference. It was in Atlanta, and this may have been, maybe we were in year 3 at that time. One of the things that stood out for me about that conference, and I still have it in the back of my head, is I remember the young lady who was hosting the conference. She talked a lot about identifying your client, and everybody you think that may want a party, may want this, is not your client. And so she said that, and then there was like this whole thing about identifying your client. And I remember being so impressed with this lady who got up and she started talking about her client. My client is Tammy Carter, and Tammy does blah, blah, blah. And she looks like that. I mean, it was so much detail. And I was like, wow. And basically, if you are not Tammy Carter, you just not my client. And I realized that, and it's okay. And so for me, I started after that, because it stayed with me, and I was like, yeah, like this is not what I want to do. So let me spend some time identifying like where, like, who does my client look like? What do they have? Where are they? Where can I find them? Where do I need to target any kind of, information or materials promoting my business or whatever? Where do I need to go with that? And so for me, that was when I really started to take a look at some of the things that I was doing. I will say, in doing that though, I kind of felt like, okay, because now you starting out, and you said something about the money. The money piece is important, and as you're trying to build your business, it is really important, and that is as important as the clients and the impression that you leave on the people that you're working with. And to me, that's paramount before the money. I care about the experience that I have with people who are working for me, that I'm working with. And so that matters to me. What I also realized in doing that and thinking about the money is that I was offering something that was of value. And how do I help people see the value in that? So when I have clients that come to me and say, well, we have this conference, we're planning this conference, but you know what? All I want to do is show up. Whatever you do, I just want to be there. So that is worth something. That says to me,
Right.
okay, like, if all you want to do is show up at an event, like, that is worth something. And so figuring out for me, like, where are the clients who want to just show up at events and they're willing to pay for that.
Right.
Because the other thing was, pricing is always an issue, and then feeling like, okay, with a baby shower, how much am I going to make on a baby shower? And because the average person that's doing a baby shower, if you come to me, you want a venue, you want food, you want all this other wild and crazy stuff going on that we can coordinate and make sure is there for you. So you don't just want a potluck in the backyard kind of thing.
Right.
And it just, with those type of things, for me, I just felt like, okay, yeah, I may need to start looking at, these other avenues. So we have worked with government, we've worked with nonprofits, small and large. We've worked with corporate clients, and these are individuals. And a lot of times those are individuals, they already know what they want, and they already say, like, here's the budget, here's what we want, like, you just do what
Make
you
it happen.
And so I absolutely love those people. And I had a client, like, some time ago, and this was the first time that this ever happened to me, but we had a gentleman that came to us, and he wanted to give his wife, it was a 50th birthday party that he was doing for her. And he wanted this birthday party. He had rented out a place in Virginia Beach. The place that he rented had like 3 floors to it. And I'm thinking, okay. So he was like, I want something on every floor. Like, this is her 50th, and we want this to be big. But what he said to me was, do what you have to do. Like, here's my card. I was like, wow, like, nobody has ever just like, hey. So that was the first. So if it definitely, when I think about, and that's different, because even with parties like that, we're not doing those anymore per se. And at that same conference, I remember the young lady, as she was talking more about her ideal client. She was somebody that did events for attorneys, and she worked only with attorneys. So if that attorney had a child that was turning a year old, they had a daughter that was getting married, they had a anniversary they wanted to celebrate, that's all she did.
Wow.
And she knew that outside of that, that wasn't her place. So she had already really, that is really how she identified her, who her client was. It was
Mhm.
that specific. And if they're not in this group, like we're not doing that. And so I have had, like, just a cut, I've had things that I've had to say, this is not for us, but I do know somebody that may be able to do that for you. I mean, I've had a few of those type of things where people have come to us and asked us to do things, and I've said, we can't do it, but I do know somebody that could help you with that.
Mhm.
Um, so I would say to people, um, really understanding who your client is and who you're targeting, and just making sure that you are in that space of working with that client. And it may feel like at first that you're taking a loss, but actually no, because then it'll start to feel right. Like where I am right now and doing conferences and these seminars, and we'll do like these high level meetings. Like we have something coming up in Virginia, and it's a meeting with this organization, and they're bringing in all of their executive leadership to this meeting. I feel that's where I am. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel good about
Yeah.
that.
So MJ, I saw your question, and I saw you said that she thinks she already answered this, but I'll bring it up just to be sure. So she said, "Do you recommend your professional event planning only for large scale events, or if it's a launch where the expected turnout is small? Or
Oh,
is it the type of event that you hone in on, or is it the number of attendees
it
more
is more so the type. So we
so?
could
Okay.
do a launch event. Like we did a conference, and I think they had about 50 or 60 individuals there, but they had all these national speakers that were on the platform.
Mhm.
But so the number of people to me don't really matter. That the number doesn't matter to a certain degree,
Mhm.
because we've definitely planned events like those type of corporate or executive type of events for small groups.
Gotcha.
This thing that we're going to be doing in Virginia, they may have about 20 people there. They're doing a cocktail reception the evening before, and then they go into the meeting part, the business part of the meeting. So
Mhm.
no, 20 people for a launch. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. And just some other comments I haven't acknowledged yet. Dr. K said Sherani treats her clients like their business is her personal business with professionalism and grace, and
Oh,
she is
you know
selling so.
what?
And then when you were saying that you tailor to the people who just want to show up, Dr. K said, "Me, yes, that's me." And then them just said, "Right, just show up. I will pay." And other people were just echoing some of the things that you said, help them see the value in what you offer, which was another great tip.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Dr. K is just echoing correct again. Tramika said, "Thank you for answering the question." So the last thing I wanted to ask you about business, because the other thing that I observed, especially when we were at the conferences in Florida, because those were massive.
Mhm.
Um, and of course, you don't do something of that scale alone. So you
Right.
have had to build a team.
Yes.
And oftentimes in the entrepreneur space, team building is not the easiest thing to do, because you're getting people to buy into your dream, your vision, and you're not
Mhm.
McDonald's, you're not Google, you're not
Right.
you're
Right.
you're not a known name just as of yet.
Right.
So
Right.
what would you what advice would you give for team building? Because like I said, I noticed, you and your people with your microphone talking around. I'm the person that noticed everything that's going on. So I don't see how you flow, Sherani.
Oh.
So
Mhm. Mhm.
how did you get people to buy in and travel with you across state lines
Mhm.
and team building for the entrepreneur?
Team building is critical. I always say, because I have been in management positions, I've been in a position of hiring people, I've even had to fire folks, and I always say, as a person in leadership management, hiring and firing are probably the two hardest things that you have to do. And it is no different when you have your own business. And so it is the work of trying to get people to buy into your vision. I have meetings with my team now, and we talk a lot. Like, I really stress to them, I understand, there are a ton of event planners doing a ton of different things, but here is how I want to do things. And so it is very important that even if people come to me, and these ladies that I've worked with over the years have had experience, have had a skill set that we've been able to leverage in the work that we're doing. What I feel like then is helping them to understand how we do things at S. Patterson Events Management, and how that may be different. And I had started out earlier talking to you about our clients. That is the impression, like, I just can't say enough about that. How we present ourselves when we are actually on site at an event, how we engage our clients. And I always tell clients that we are going to engage you in a stress-free planning, like, engage you in that way. So, because my thing is, with all the other stuff they have going on, when we come on board, we don't want you worrying about an event. Like, you should not be stressed about that. So when I have clients saying, okay, hey, I'm going to the spa, or I'm going to go do it, yes, go do that. Relax. Like, we have this. You shouldn't be worrying about that. So the way that we even take our time with clients, that's very important for my team to understand that. And so I shouldn't, to me, it shouldn't feel different, the experience that a client has, if it's one-on-one with me or one-on-one with somebody on my team. To me, it should be seamless in that way, because they understand how we do business. They understand how we treat our clients, how we talk to our clients, how we, all of that is very important to me. So the team building piece, I have meetings. I have, my people know when they get an email from me, it's like, okay, let me get something to drink. Like, this could probably take me all night. But we do our share of meetings. I usually at the end of the year, like in December, have like it's like a planning meeting for the next year. And then I also like to do something really fun with them. So we've done different things over the years when it comes to that. But I like to surprise them with things throughout. The ladies that I've worked with, these ladies may have other jobs that they're doing. They may have families. But the flexibility in what we're doing is there so that they can do these other things. And so that is something that, that I continue to do. And like you said, I don't do it by myself. These ladies have been fabulous. I started out when I think the event I was telling you about in Virginia Beach, that's when I realized, hey, you need a team. Okay. Like 3 floors in this place that you have to get done. And God bless my husband. Patrick and I went to Virginia Beach. I have everything I need. And now, mind you, I put together a design plan for this space just by looking at pictures online, because the gentleman told me that we wouldn't be able to get into the space until like the day of. So I'm still prepping, planning, have all of my stuff. And so we get to the space. It is so much to be done, because when I tell you I had stuff and we were going to deck out like this whole space, guests came, and it was so funny because they actually thought that it was a house, and they thought the house was the host, because it was just so much.
Wow.
It was a really nice affair. But I remember after that, because me and Patrick, it was just me and him. So we were putting things up, we were doing things. And when we left on the way back, I was like, I looked at him and I said, I got to get me a team in place. Like, I really need some help. Like, I just can't do this by myself. So initially, when I started out, I went to ladies, to ladies that I know. A lot of these, you know, I have known them for years, and they were, so the buy-in to my vision, they were there. They just wanted the support. There were some of them that when I made the call, it was like, well, what do you need me to do? I can do blah, 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 whatever. And so we have a team. I don't have any, like, I would say W-2 employees. Everybody is contracted. We contract based on events, based on what, you know, how big or small the event is, how much support I will need. They are involved in the planning. So, you know, usually we will do a lot of that. They may interface with the client during that phase, and we go from there. But these ladies are, and have, you know, they have just been in my life. They know me. And I'll say I'm at this place in terms of growth where they're still there, but I need to grow my team a little bit more. And so we have even we've been talking about that, like what are we looking for people to come on? Because again, having the skill set to me is only half of it, but it's then how do we train them? How do we prepare them to be able to deliver in the way that we do?
Yeah, so congratulations on that. Growth is good, especially
you're
you're needing to expand in the midst of a time when a lot of people are having to shut down. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So I'm going to turn the corner here real quickly because we've been talking for a while, but I want to you are parenting 2 teenage daughters in 2021.
People can add their prayers in the chat box.
And that's when I saw the age, and you know, if we flash back to when we were 13 and 15 and knew everything as we knew nothing. And I can only imagine in this age where they have information at their fingertips. So that might heighten the know everything. How's it going?
It's going, and these are, so my oldest, who's 15, she'll be 16 in November, and Lauren, 13, will be 14 in October. So with Peyton being 16, she's decided, okay, I want to have this dinner. She wants to do a dinner instead of, you know, all out with this party. But really, when I think about everything she wants, she may as well rent a space and do like a big party. I don't know if she thinks that she's saving me and her dad some money. I don't know. But so it's very interesting. And I'll say with my 2 girls, they are, it's like night and day. With Lauren definitely, Lauren's the youngest. Lauren, there is nothing that I know. Mommy, that's not right. You know, that's not what this says. And you're right, because there's always a phone or a laptop and they're always looking up stuff. And so it is interesting. But one of the things that I find is just being able to watch them, because I look at my oldest, like, really, I look at both of them a lot, and I'm like, wow, I just remember when they were, you know, I could rock them, put them one place and they would stay. And just to see them now, and Peyton is driving, and, you know, it's been interesting. You know, we're in the 11th grade and we're talking about boys, and every time we say something about a boy, it's so funny, and it's just so we're in this thing now. She has been inspired to do some extra cleaning because she wants to go to a football game tomorrow night. So I'm like, okay. I said, well, you know, me and your dad going to the game, right?
We're gonna be in the stands.
Yeah, like, you know, we going. Well, can my friend bring me home? I'm like, I need to know who your friend is. I need her mom's name, her mom's cell number, her cell number. Like, we not just, getting in
Mhm.
the car with anybody. We need to talk about what that looks like. So,
Yeah.
so it's interesting, and I will say fun at the same time. And I
Mhm.
remember somebody older saying, like, long time ago, before I even had kids, but just how kids will show you a lot of yourself. So I have to be honest, when I see them, the good, the bad, the indifferent, I see a lot of myself in them. And so it's
Mhm.
almost like you have to deal with things, because it's like right there in your face,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's been interesting.
Yeah. Is there anything that you are intentionally doing different with raising your girls different than how you were raised because of the times and the way things are so open and so available to them now?
One of the things I would say, and this is, hey, when I think about myself growing up, that was definitely different. um I try to be open to hearing them, because I know a lot of times it was like, okay, you gonna do this. Like, there was no, like, who turned around and asked their parent a question about something? Like, none of us that are living here today did that. But with them, there's a lot of why are we doing this? We could do blah blah blah. And so just trying to be a little open to hearing their thoughts on, whatever it is that we're talking about, and just trying to understand, try to lend myself to understand things from their perspective, and also realizing too, in some of these moments, remembering how I was at that age and where I was. So
Mhm.
just really trying to hear them out, talking a little bit more with them. And I will say, with the both of them, I always tell Patrick, like, because he talks about the way we talk and how they will come and share with me. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes they share some stuff I really don't even want to know, but they are definitely honest girls when it comes to that, and they are talking. So I'm
Mhm.
doing my best to listen.
Mhm. Well, that is beautiful. Look, I was a watch child. It didn't work that well for me. My mom just ignored me. I tried it. Lord knows I tried it, and it didn't help. So
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
I'm a
After
lie
you
to
get that
tell the
first
story.
backhand, you like, yeah, I better stop while I'm with
Right, right. So thank you so much, Sherani. This has been so fun. I'm going to go ahead and bring up your contact information. I'm sure, based off of the comments that people have shared about you, that have been able to do business with you already, like Dr. K and her sister Kimberly jumped in the comments to say that you're phenomenal. And like I said,
Thank
I knew when I
you.
saw the excellence at that event, I was like, oh, it's a mastermind behind
Oh,
this.
thank you, Tammy. I
So,
appreciate that. I don't take any of that lightly. I mean, just know that it means a lot, and I know that you understand that too, when you're really doing something and going back to the passion. And it means a lot when other people take notice and they recognize it. So thank you for that. Thank you, Kimberly, Dr. K, everybody on the line. I appreciate you, ladies, and thank you so much.
So for those who want to contact Sherani, reach out to her, find out more about her business. Her website is on the screen. So you can go to her website, and I think there's links from the website to other pages like social media, Facebook, Instagram. So
Mm-hmm.
go look her up. Take my word for it. There's probably some pictures I know I saw a video on the event, but excellence is her standard. It's oozing out of her fingertips. So if you have something coming up, I highly, highly, highly recommend Sherani and S. Patterson Events. So I always like to ask my guests, as we're closing, any words of motivation, inspiration, encouragement that you want to share or leave with the audience that is watching or those that would watch the replay. What would you like to share by way of motivation, inspiration, encouragement?
I think really staying and sticking with whatever it is that you are pursuing. It may seem in the beginning that things aren't working out, but if this is the space, if that is where you're supposed to be, I think you would just be surprised how things just start to happen, how doors are open, and only by the grace of God that happens. But when we are truly operating and being intentional about the things that we're doing, that we're supposed to be doing, one of the things that I've realized over the years, and this is another lesson learned, when people talk about competition, I think about our creator, and we were created for a purpose. Each one of us, no matter how many people, all the people on this earth that have walked this earth, were created for a purpose that only that individual can do. And so I think keeping that in mind and walking with that as you continue to journey and do the things that you're doing. So I would just say stay encouraged.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Good nugget, very, very good nugget. There's so much more we could have talked about that we didn't get to, but this has been so fruitful, so encouraging, so inspirational. So again, I thank you so much for saying yes and for being able to share not only what you do in a business profession, but we could hear the passion of what you do coming out. So to be able to share not only from expertise but from passion is amazing. So I am so very grateful that, like I said, you came from behind the clipboard and the microphone and said yes to this conversation with me. So I want to thank all of you again for watching. Thank you for jumping in the comments. Thank you for encouraging Sherani, because this was not the space that she's used to function in, but she did an amazing job. So thank you guys for jumping in the comments and encouraging her in this space. And I will be back next week. Another guest, same day, same time. And in case you missed it at the beginning, please join me in praying for the Bostic family. I'm a beautiful woman that I knew as I was living in the Columbia area, transitioned this week. And as I said earlier, we as women, especially women who win, we are oftentimes the sum total of the women that we have come in contact with that have been able to touch our lives in any kind of way. So whether it was their kindness, their smile, their encouragement, we are because of them. So please, please, please pray for this family, the husband, the children, the grandchildren, and all the extended family that she left behind. And Sherani, I'm going to ask you to hang out with me for a little bit in the studio as we close out. Again, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully see you guys again next week. Have a good night. Would you like to join us behind the scenes of Women Who Win? We're building a team of amazing thought leaders to grow with us. Please send an inquiry email to info@simplytammy.com for more information. If you enjoy the conversations on Women Who Win, let's connect beyond this space. Join us in the Our Common Thread community, where we are celebrating our stories and having deeper conversations. Visit simplytammy.com/connect to subscribe to the community.